And at 9:45, it's time for our conversation with the principal of the Homer Center High School. He is Jody Rainey, joining us on the line this morning. Our conversation brought to you by Marcus & Mack, a law firm representing injured people. And how are you today?
I'm good, Todd.
That's good to hear. Good to hear. I might ask you to put on your Heritage Conference hat here in a few minutes as well. But I want to start at the school itself at Homer Center. We are entering into, another period where we're starting to think about spring sports, number one, but we're thinking ahead to things like prom and graduation ceremonies. Field trips typically are a big part of the spring. I'm sure there's ongoing work with all of those in light of the pandemic, aren't there?
There is, Todd. I've reported out to the board last week that we're ready to move quickly if we are given the opportunity to have the things such as prom. We have looked at our senior class trip, looking at maybe day trips within the state where we would go and come back the same day, talked about things such as potentially the Pennsylvania Grand Canyon or things where we could maintain the protocols that we would need to. So we're just kind of, the troops are amassed on the borders, I like to say, and we're ready to go. We need to, kind of see if this thing continues in the right direction with COVID, and if we're given that opportunity, we'll be ready.
March 17th will be the one-year anniversary of when the world stopped turning. And obviously it was a momentous day and turned into more than a day, into weeks and then months of changes among our schools. If you think back on that year and all of the different difficulties that you've encountered at Homer Center and the triumphs and some of the sorrows, it's been more than just a momentous year. It's been groundbreaking, hasn't it?
It has been. I think there's a lot of lessons that we have learned in a very short period of time, different initiatives that we have talked years about that we had to push forward and implement. A lot of schools now, Homer Center being one of them, one-to-one with technology, meaning that a student has a device that they bring to school, take home, the ability to learn remotely. I'm really proud of the teachers at Homer Center because we put something together pretty quickly last year in the spring, and I'm not saying it was great, but it got us through the rest of the year last year for COVID. But we took what we learned, and through data surveys that parents, our students, our teachers were able to provide back to us, we set ourselves up with a few goals as far as our remote learning platforms and how we wanted to attack it. And I really credit the teachers for, helping us kind of fine-tune that process. And I think that we've done a very good job with our, remote learning activities this year and how we instruct. I think that our instruction, I'm not saying I do believe in person will always be better than anything else, but I think that our remote program provides a very good instructional program and a fine opportunity for education for our kids who are unable to be here or choose not to be for various reasons. So, that's not remote learning and one-to-one and the different skills we've learned from that. That's not going away post-COVID. Those things are with us to stay. So that's one good thing. And I think number two, I think that just the patience that people have with each other has improved drastically over the last few months. We don't know what everybody's going through. You have a lot of different things going on and, with potential of, employment, missed opportunities, lack of opportunities, financial situations, health situations. So social emotional learning has become a big thing in all schools. And, so our counselors and our teachers and our administration, in fact, works very hard not only, to care for the entire student, not just their academic needs, but sometimes their personal needs, their social emotional needs. Those need to be met. And, I'm really proud of the efforts of our staff, everybody, from the person who works, 4-hour shift, making sure our building is sanitized and disinfected, to Mr. Weitzel, who's our superintendent, who's in essence the CEO. I think everybody has contributed to, make sure that we're still providing a great opportunity for our kids at Homer.
Talked with IUP President Dr. Michael Driscoll last hour about measurables and analytics as you analyze exactly what has happened over the course of the year. Student performance assessments, all of those types of things to make sure that they're not falling behind because of this medical program or this educational program or that. I'm sure that goes on at the scholastic level too, does it not?
It does. I mean, it's a constant. And that's always been more prevalent now and more of a point of emphasis, obviously, because of COVID, and I'm sure the things Dr. Driscoll would mention to you, they're here too with us the whole way down to the primary levels. And the trying to figure out the learning gaps that may have been or have been created with COVID in our situation is there. And that's why I'm really proud of, last year we survived, we got through. And this school year, I really believe, I can speak for Homer Center for sure, I really am impressed with the quality of education that we're able to provide our kids, and make up some of that difference, I think, in whatever gaps we've been able to discover. And we did give the state assessments in the fall, and yesterday's news from the U.S. Department of Education is that, we are going to assess kids. They don't count towards some of measurements that we use, like as far as if you're in targeted assistance and things that would be very complicated to explain to people listening. But long story short is our students did take them in the fall. We will take them again in the spring. And I'm I was very pleased with how our students performed on them despite missing, they didn't really have any formal way of educating from March 13th was our last day last year till the time they took the test. They had a couple of weeks of school in, and they performed fairly well, not as well as we would have expected if we wouldn't have had COVID, but I was still pretty impressed. And that data does give us a lot of information. And then you do a lot of benchmarking assessments and different things like that. So, and again, I think, too, the one thing that I'm really happy about, too, at schools, especially around the county, I'm sure of it, is how much we're tracking to the social emotional needs, as I mentioned earlier, for our students. Because, it's more than, if a student has a social emotional need, all the great instruction in the world is still that kid is still going to be hindered until that personal need is met. And then that opens the path for education, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. I'm going to ask you to take off that HC hat and put on another hat. It happens to have the same initials, HC, but those initials stand for Heritage Conference. The basketball semifinals coming up tomorrow. Still a couple of things to be decided, like are the Homer Center girls first or third in the seedings. But the season has progressed, and we've actually gotten through it. And some people might have been surprised at the late start that we were able even to do that.
Yeah, I said from the very beginning, 1 game's better than 2 and 5's better than 4. And if we got to this point in the season, then we would consider it a success. And so we've got there. And next week we're going to be talking about district playoffs. And, so we get to conclude our Heritage Conference season the rest of this week. And so we're, just happy and thrilled that we were able to get there. And a lot of hard work went in by a lot of people on the Heritage. The athletic directors, I don't know how many different, Todd, because you were asking me a lot about it, is what's the new schedule, when's these games? A lot of work goes into that. And our athletic directors across the conference, they're responsible for that work. And so they've done a great job to make sure that we provide every opportunity for our kids to enjoy basketball or wrestling or whatever sport it is that they participate in.
Yeah, I think it's pretty amazing the amount of work that goes into it. Then you realize that a lot of these folks, they have their regular job, and then the supplemental job of athletic director takes up a whole bunch of their time. So a big salute to them. And we're looking forward to the Heritage Conference and then on into the District 6 playoffs, but then we keep a distant eye on the spring sports because those are getting underway too.
Yeah, March, I think, 8th is the date, is the first official practice. And so, baseball, softball, track and field, and usually those three sports bring out a large volume in any student body to participate. And so, yeah, I'm really excited this year. I'll be honest. I have a kind of a soft spot for our spring sports athletes because let's keep in mind they did lose their seasons last year.
Yeah, they did.
And so I've said that from the very beginning. I'm committed to all the sports and all the kids, but we will work extremely hard to make sure that they have every opportunity to get their seasons in this year and enjoy it because, I feel, the one thing I remind the fall sports and the winter sports is there's things that happen that they aren't happy about, and it's different because of COVID or this or that. I remind them all the time is it could be worse. Go talk to someone who plays spring sports, or if you played spring sports, tell me this isn't better.
Yeah.
So, they're working hard. We're ready to go, as I'm sure all the other schools are too. And, just looking forward to that opportunity for them to get out and compete and enjoy the sports that they love.
Absolutely. And you talked about mental health. That's a big aspect of mental health is the ability to get out and do those more than just recreational activities, those team-building things, and people need it. They really do, and especially at that age. He's Jody Rainey. He's the principal of Homer Center High School. He is also the conference president of the Heritage Conference. Thanks for being with us today.
Hey, thanks, Todd, and thanks, too, on two fronts, giving us the opportunity to talk about Homer, and I know I'll probably bump into you sometime in the next couple of days at a basketball game, I'm sure.
You betcha. You betcha. Have a wonderful day today.
You too, Todd. I'll talk to you soon.
Bye now. It is the voice of Indiana County, WCCS 101.1 FM and AM 1160.